Hi, thanks for joining me again. In this video, we're going to talk about your hot buttons, and they really are the foundation for your reactions. So when you think about any interaction you've had with your love partner, with people at work, with your children, with your parents, with your relatives, really, you can cull from all of your life experiences. There will be a handful of things that set you off. Your triggers in psychological speak. In the 5 seasons, I talk about them as hot buttons. So they are the things that when they are pushed, poof, eruptions happen, right? Those are the things that just bring you to a place of utter despair and out of mindedness, right? You just cannot rationally respond, calmly react. You are just like, rah! And some people are better at emotional regulation. So they might actually have a hot button that does get pushed and they do have that reaction, but they're able to squash the reaction that comes out of them. So they have very well practiced emotional regulation. Now, this doesn't mean that they are far ahead in any kind of evolutionary sense. Sometimes people who have had severe trauma have very good emotional regulation skills because it was not the right decision for them to fall on the floor and have a tantrum. That wasn't safe. Or to say that something was hurting them. It just made the hurt that much harder, right? So it doesn't mean that if you have emotional regulation and you're able to kind of keep everything bottled up, that that's the ideal. It's not the ideal at all. Understanding your emotions is where we start, and then how we process them is the next level. So when we're talking about our hot buttons, they really are those emotionally charged triggers that immediately bring up a fiery reaction. Okay, so you might actually have to ask your partner what their hot buttons are if they are someone who keeps pushing their emotions down. If you actually don't know what sends them into any kind of, reactionary frenzy. When you look at the list of hot buttons here, things like lying, rejection, disrespect, abandonment, threats to freedom, fear of losing control, uneven power dynamics, opposite or very different values in sex, money, parenting, or work ethics. You might think, oh, I didn't actually think about our conflicts that way, but we battle a lot over work. Ooh, that just sends me. And you didn't quite think about it in this way. That's what we want to get to, is try to deconstruct the times in your relationship that you are absolutely beside yourself with like that, I cannot believe that just happened. What happened just before that? Okay, so when you get to that feeling of that angry and frustrated and like explosive place, look back 5 seconds or 10 or 15 seconds. What was it that set you off? Because when your hot button is pushed, you don't necessarily have full control of your faculties. It's not an excuse. This is not an excuse, but it is an explanation that you have to learn how to manage your emotions, right? We aren't all born with amazing emotional regulation. So if there is something that just keeps setting you off, we need to explore that more, because with each hot button you have, there's a story behind it. We weren't born being reactionary that way. Something happened that made us fearful, experience pain, loss, grief, or trauma. And so when we have those unhealed hurts in our life, they often manifest in some sort of hot button scenario. So if, for example, your partner goes out with friends and they don't call, and it's getting late and they don't call, and you're calling or texting and they don't respond, and you fall asleep on the sofa and they come home very, very late, put a blanket on you, they go to bed, and the next morning they're totally fine. and you are seething. You're so angry. And they don't understand why you're so angry. They told you they were going out with friends. They told you what they were going to be doing, where they were going to be going, who they were going with. Why are you so frenetic? Why are you so ramped up? And so this is probably something that has come up over and over in your relationship. If I told you in this scenario, which one of my clients actually experienced, it was based in a foundation of early abandonment, where this woman's father would behave that way and the little girl never knew if he was coming home. Now, he was an alcoholic, and so sometimes he actually was arrested and he didn't come home for many days. Or he ended up in the hospital and he didn't come home for many days. And sometimes she just didn't know if she would ever see him again. So this feeling just lives right here. And now with her partner, that feeling just rips right open again and puts her back in that place of fear and abandonment. She didn't connect the two things because when she was a little girl, we're talking 3.5 decades ago, right? But it hasn't been healed. So it lives right here. And it showed up every time her partner did not respond in a way that made her feel safe, because it triggered memories of times when she didn't know if she would ever see her dad again. So we need to go there. I know. You think this is a love relationship book and we should just be talking about love right now? We can't, because everything is connected. So how old were you when you first remember feeling the feeling that you are now thinking about with your partner? So if it is that abandonment, if it is when they go out with their friends and they're having an amazing time and you didn't even want to go, but all of a sudden you're very ramped up and you're texting and you're calling and you're trying to find out what's going on and you're feeling out of control and you're spiraling out of control and winter is in your heart and you just think everything bad is happening, and they're watching a show and they're not even looking at their phone and they are oblivious to what's going on, the storm that has surrounded you. When you think of that feeling for you, when is another time you felt it? Keep working your way back. Maybe you felt it 2 weeks ago. Maybe you felt it 6 years ago. Maybe you felt it with a first love. Maybe you felt it with a parent. You need to go back as early as you can and really understand the genesis of that feeling. Now, there might be things that happened that you cannot remember, right? They just happened so early in your life, or they were at a time that you just can't recall all the details. That might happen. That happens a lot, actually, because many of our foundational memories and our values and our beliefs and our fears are implanted in us before we're 7. I think research shows 7 is kind of an age to which all things have already been seeded in our gardens. So there very well may be things you don't know. And if that's the case, I just want you to imagine that child. Imagine you as that 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old, 1, 2, 3-year-old, however old you were. What did you learn, or what would you expect to have learned as a child that age about this experience? So what did this woman experience with her father? What did she learn? She learned that when people left her to go somewhere else, the world became unsafe. She didn't know if she would ever see them again. She couldn't control them, so she didn't want them to ever leave. Stay with me so I can control things, so I can keep you safe, so I know what you're doing, so we can face the world together, which sounds romantic in some places, and I'm sure there's dozens of Hollywood movies that are like that. But in reality, you have your own life, and your partner has their own life, and their friends, and their hobbies, and their interests, and they cannot give all of that up because you have abandonment issues, right? So you need to understand, I am afraid when you go out. And then we need to understand that, so when the time comes for the conversations to be had about your hot buttons, you can explain that. When you go out, I feel like I'm that little girl again. and my dad may or may not come back, and I don't know if I'll see him, and I'm so scared and I'm so worried. And then he walks in and he thinks it's no big deal, and then I feel stupid that I was worried, and there's so many emotions. And your partner might be thinking, wow, I did not even know any of that, and you were just in so much pain, and I was watching something on TV. It didn't occur to me that you needed to have lifelines to me in these times. Winter will keep happening. You will still have the same issues today that you had 2 years ago, that you have in 5 years. If you don't get into those hot button conversations, first with yourself, then with your partner, and say, this is why I'm like this. I think this is why I fight like this. I think this is why I want to run away. Because in my family of origin, when I did something wrong or something happened, my mom was a total rage machine, and we all scattered. We just scattered, and whoever was the last one was the one that was grabbed and yelled at, and we didn't want to be the last one. So when you get angry, I run. And your partner might think, that's so fascinating. I thought you just didn't want to talk to me. I thought you hated me. I thought you were angry with me. I thought you didn't trust me anymore. I thought our relationship was over. I thought. And you could be like, wow, I didn't think you thought those things, right? Do you see how you have to pull the shell off of the nut to actually get inside and see what it really is? Because if you're looking at a coconut thinking, there's no way I'm gonna eat that, and you crack it open and there's this amazing white, beautiful coconut meat and this delicious coconut water, you would never know that with that hard, hairy, brown, fuzzy shell, right? You have to crack it open to know what's inside. Your hot buttons are the same. So when you go through this experience with your partner, there's no time limit on this. And this will be something I say several times in this program. Please take your time. There is so much personal exploration in healing relationships, which is so interesting because oftentimes people will come and say, he's broken, she's broken, they don't know what's going on, they're leading me astray, they've abandoned me, they're neglecting me, they keep rejecting me. And it is the outcome of the behavior, but the behavior started because of the hot button that was pushed 10 steps before this end result. So we have to go back, and it might hurt, and it might be uncomfortable, and you might need to go to therapy, or you might need to call a friend and say, I really want to deal with this and I need your support. Are you able to help me? Can you talk me through this? You might need to go find some books about this topic, about codependency, about being an adult child of an alcoholic, of, a trauma survivor, being an adult adopted child with all of the environments that being an adopted child brings. Like, you might need to go do some of those things to heal your current relationship. That's what it's going to take. That is what it's going to take. Because anything you do on the surface is not going to last. When the next storm comes, when the next winds blow, when the next snow falls, anything you have planted on this shallow level, whoosh, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. You have got to dig that hole. You have got to get into that dirt. You have got to go deep. You have to get in deep, and then you see what's down there. You pull out the root. If it's something you want, you plant it, you take care of it. But chances are, if it's causing pain and suffering with your partner, it's not something that's healthy for your relationship. It's something that you have hung on to for a very long time. And this is how you might have a pattern of behavior. So you might think with your current partner, oh my gosh, I left the other person, my last partner, because I was sick of that. And look, this partner is exactly the same. All people I date are the same. And in actual fact, no, That's not how it works. You have a behavior and you are drawn to somebody who fills your idea of what hurt in relationship needs to look like. So until you heal your hurt, you will continue to connect with people who fulfill that role for your life. I know, it's mind-blowing. When I learned that, I know. I feel you. I feel you. We cannot just break patterns, especially unhealthy patterns of winter, because we say we want to. It takes work. This course will require you to go into that soul garden and dig around. You will have dirt under your nails. You will break some nails. You will ruin a top or two by wiping your dirty hands all over yourself as you hug yourself because you're so sad, or you're so shocked, or you're so overwhelmed. Yeah, you might. And that's okay. We're in it together. So take some time, dig into your hot buttons. Think about the things that keep happening for you. Think about the things that keep coming up as being issues in your life. If you keep tripping over the same things, if the same things keep happening and pushing your buttons and triggering you in the same ways, major, major, major attention required on those. But also the little side ones, the ones that you're like, I never have road rage, and all of a sudden I'm driving and I'm ready to like jump out of my car and bang on somebody's hood, or like the bonnet of their car, and just be like, what kind of driver are you? I'm not a road rage person, and all of a sudden I've got road rage. Well, chances are it's not about the road rage, right? What else is going on for you? And I think that's where we start. So you have some work to do. I wish you the best of success to dig into your hot buttons, and your partner to dig into their hot buttons. And once you get back, go through the exercise in the workbook. If you have not printed it out, really, we are going to use this workbook a lot. Well, in every video. So please print it off, have it ready, have a nice cup of tea and a biscuit or something and a pen, and I will see you in the next video. We'll talk to you soon.